Hi mga kaastig na YouTuber, kumusta po kayo? Malapit na po ang eleksyon. This coming May 9 po. Magsama-sama tayo na pumili ng karapat-dapat na siyang maninilbihan para sa ating bansa. Vote wisely, sabi nga po nila. The 2022 Philippine presidential and vice presidential elections are scheduled to be held on Monday, May 9, 2022, as part of the 2022 general election. This will be the 17th direct presidential election and 16th vice presidential election in the Philippines since 1935, and the 6th sexennial presidential and vice presidential elections since 1992. Now let's get to know our presidential candidates. Candidate number 1, Abela Ernie. Siya po ay 72 years old and a businessman, writer, and pastor who is a longtime supporter po ni Presidente Rodrigo Duterte. Nagsilbi po rin siya as the President's spokesperson. He is running as an independent candidate, seeking to promote the participation of ordinary citizens and small entrepreneurs in governance, better access to food and healthcare services to children and senior citizens. That was Abela Ernie. Candidate number 2, De Guzman Leody, Partido Lakas ng Masa. Siya po ay 61 years old and activist po ng labor leader who has pushed for policies to secure the rights and welfare ng mga manggagawa since 1984. Tumakbo rin po siyang senador noong 2019 under the tagline Manggagawa Naman. Pero hindi po siya nakaupo, kaya he is currently sitting as the chairperson of the Bukluran na Manggagawang Filipino, a social labor center and federation of militant trade unions. De Guzman has vowed to challenge the interests of the rich by increasing the taxes for billionaires, decreeing minimum wage, and banning contractualization, among others. And also, he said he would have the size of the national police and military and surrender enforcers and key figures in the current administration war on drugs. Yan po si Leody De Guzman. Dumako po tayo sa candidate number 3, si Dumagozo Isko Moreno, Aksyon Demokratiko. Francisco Isko Moreno Dumagozo is the incumbent mayor of the city of Manila. After serving as the capital city's vice mayor from 2007 to 2016, he ran for senator but failed to secure a seat. Similar to Duterte in 2016, Moreno is campaigning on a platform of duplicating his local projects on a national level. These projects include socialized housing, modernized public school education, and continuing the administration's anti-drug campaign. Candidate number 4, Gonzales Norberto, from Partido Demokratiko Socialista Pilipinas. Siya po ay 74 years old, is an avowed democratic socialist whose long career spans activism and union organizing, peace talks, negotiation, and national security advisor, defense secretary, and presidential chief of staff appointments under the Gloria Macapagal Arroyo administration. As a surprise candidate for the 2022 presidential election, Gonzales frames many of the issues faced by the country as matters of national security, including food and the COVID-19 pandemic. He vows to prioritize reform of the agricultural sector to boost food production and increase farms' income. Candidate number 5, Ping Lacson, Independent. Si Ping Lacson po ay 73 years old and nagsilbihan po siya sa legislative and executive branches of the government for over 40 years. He is currently serving his third term in the Senate. If elected, Lacson vows to restore public trust in government by improving the country's pandemic response, purging the bureaucracy of corrupt officials, and allowing local governments more autonomy. Candidate number 6, we have Mangondado Faisal from Katipunan ng Kamalayang, Kayumanggi. Faisal Mangondado is a businessman who is running as the standard bearer of the Katipunan ng Kamalayang, Kayumanggi Party. He was born in Ramain, Ditsaan, Lanao del Sur, and currently resides in Marawi City. He launched a failed bid for regional governor of autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao as an independent in 2016. 3 years later, in 2019, he sought a Senate seat in 2019 but did not garner enough votes to win. Candidate number 7, Bongbong Marcos, mula sa Partido Federal ng Pilipinas. Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., 64 years old, son and namesake of the late ousted dictator, was elected unopposed into vice gubernatorial seats in Ilocos Norte at the height of his father's regime in 1980, and eventually into congressional seats representing the same province after his family's return to the Philippines in 1991. He also served as a senator from 2010 to 2016 before losing a bid for higher office to Vice President Leni Robredo in 2016 elections. Marcos is campaigning on improving the country's pandemic response and continuing the Duterte's administration's anti-insurgency campaign, as well as its bloody campaign against illegal drugs, but with a focus on prevention, education, and rehabilitation. His tandem with Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte, the incumbent president's daughter, is formally backed by several other heavyweight political clans, including those led by former Presidents Gloria Macapagal Arroyo and Joseph Estrada. Candidate number 8, Montemayor Jose Jr., Democratic Party of the Philippines. Jose Montemayor Jr. works primarily as a cardiologist at major hospitals. He claims to bring a medical, legal, and economics background to the presidential race in his first campaign for public office. The same event was marked by the non-compliance of some attendees and Montemayor himself with the pandemic task force and COMELEC's rules and mask wearing. Candidate number 9, Pacquiao Manny Pacman from Abag, Prondi. Manny Pacquiao is a Philippine legislator who has served in both chambers of Congress since 2010. He first gained acclaim as a world-class champion boxer and juggled his career as a public official and athlete until 2021, when he announced his retirement from the sport. The boxer turned legislator is also a preacher and founded the church Word for Everyone Ministries International in 2012. Pacquiao is campaigning on ridding the country of corruption, criminality, and poverty, though he has not published any concrete policy proposals as of this writing. He has said that religious leaders, especially from evangelical groups, will be part of his cabinet and anti-corruption task force if elected. And last but not the least, candidate number 10, Robredo Lenny. Lenny Robredo, 56, is currently serving as the 14th Vice President of the Philippines. Her office has garnered the highest audit rating from the Commission on Audit for 3 consecutive years, from 2018 to 2020, and has been recognized by Malacanang for its pandemic response programs across the country. In her long term in the House of Representatives, Robredo principally authored 3 bills that were signed into law, including the Tax, Incentives, Management, and Transparency Act. If elected, Robredo says she will spend her first 100 days in office strengthening the country's response to the coronavirus pandemic. Here are your presidential candidates. Please vote wisely this coming May 9, 2022. Choose the right one who will reign as the President of the Philippines. Once again, this is Geraldine, your YouTuber Kaastig. Maraming salamat! To God be the glory.